Joseph Gagliano is with us this morning. Good morning, Joseph.
Hey, guys. How you doing?
We're doing okay. How are you?
Every day's a new adventure.
That's what it sounds like. What a story, man. What a story. No gray areas. That's the book, and this is the inside story of the largest point-shaving scandal in the history. And I guess, you know more about it than anybody. So when did this happen? What was your involvement, and what's going on now with it?
Well, the ASU point-shaving scandal is part of the story. You know, that's the sizzle behind the story. That's what the public never got to learn about. And, that's after a second indictment and a second tour in federal prison for reasons I'm sure we'll get into, I decided to put everything on paper, really just put it on paper just for my kids to try to understand what journeys their father went on and why he made certain decisions and why certain things happened in his life.
Okay, so you were a young guy when this happened, right? Like the early 20s?
Yeah, I was 24 years old. I was trading bond futures at the Board of Trade in Chicago.
Get out of town. I used to work at the Merc. I did. Yeah.
What
year was this?
This was 93-94 basketball season.
We made a killing on I forget about it. All right, go ahead. I'm sorry about it. All right, now hold on. You're a guy. If you worked on the board, you remember we just got done with Super Bowl. Do you remember the $1 million square pool?
I remember the $100,000 pool that I ran.
Okay. They used to have there was $1 million pool. Mm-hmm. It was $10,000 a square, cash only, and I think it was a guy at the board that ran it.
Yeah, there was there was
Uh-huh.
quite a few of those. And I talk about one of the first truly unethical paths that I went down in my life. You're from the Merc,
Yes.
and I wrote about it in the book, that to be a honest, ethical trader is probably one of the bigger oxymorons in life. And we're all products of our environment, and that's why I say that, because to be an honest, ethical trader down on the trading floor, you're probably not obtaining success or great levels of success. Every one of those successful traders down there, they play in the gray areas.
Yeah, how gray? How gray? I mean, some of us played in gray, some played in charcoal. It's gray.
Yeah, but it's still gray, and that's what finally after 47 years on life, I broke it down. After the second indictment, I broke it down as to, man, there should not be a gray. It's either black or white.
Okay.
I look back at this 1993-94 ASU scandal that has haunted me here 20 years plus later. I was a product, and I break it down like I was a product of my environment. And my environment at that time, when I was 23, 24, 25 years old, was acceptability inside the gray area.
Yeah.
And
no, you're right. You're absolutely right.
Yes. So that's kind of how I got involved. At that point in my life, my brother was going to Arizona State. I was making some crazy dollars on the floor of the exchange. I'd fly out to Tempe, and I'd be treating those kids like they were King Farouk because I had a few bucks in my pocket, and they were college kids, and we'd all have a good time. And these kids all looked up to me.
At that point, how much were you down to your bookie?
No, actually, I probably had one of the best. Well, I shouldn't say best. Probably one of the worst things that could happen to a gambler is that was early on success. Because once you have success early on, you feel a sense of infallibility. Okay. I tell you, sports gambling and I always got along pretty well, especially in the early stages of my life. And, if you're on the floor, if you're on the trading floor, you probably have a vice. You either have a gambling vice or you have a drug vice. Well, I never did a drug in my life, and I still haven't 47 years later. But
I didn't gamble.
At the Chicago Board of Trade, I certainly learned how to gamble.
Yeah.
So
that's right. Yeah.
I made these trips out to Arizona, and sure enough, my brother's next door in my brother's apartment building on campus was a kid who was a bookmaker on campus, and one of the point guards for Arizona State, the kid that actually ran the team, Headache Smith, lived next door to him, and Headache got in debt to this kid with some dollars through the book operation, and my brother's roommate Benny Silman actually saw me as a guy from Chicago that had a lot of outlets and a lot of money, and we came up with a plan to fix the games. At first, it was only supposed to be 2 games, and then 2 turns into 3, and.
How do you plan to, you need certain things to happen. You just can't fix a game like that, right?
Well, here's how it happened, guys. What happened is that, Benny laid out to this player, Headache Smith, that, hey, this $20,000 that you owe my bookmaking operation, you really don't owe me. You owe this big-time organized crime guy out of Chicago, meaning me.
Okay.
So I had to play the part of a big-time organized crime figure, and that's how the press ran with it. And, my last name ends in a vowel, and a few of the guys that I brought in ends in a vowel, and you Google our names, and there's some lineage there.
And you look like look at the back of the pig. He looks just like one.
Well, before so now you got down on the right side of the game too. So what were you betting on, per game before you got in on the fix?
Guys, I'll talk about the numbers like this. It's obviously I got indicted. I got indicted in 1998, 4 years after the game. I got indicted really not because of stupidity, but because a couple guys at ASU's campus got in trouble with some stuff that they were doing, and they played Monty Hall, let's make a deal, and the petty crimes that they were involved with meant nothing to the government compared to the ASU trophy that they were after. Mm-hmm. So the government indicted me and a few others on 72 counts. And if you look at how the counts were shown, it said $300,000 to $500,000 in the indictments. And each bet that they tracked, each ticket that they were able to prove that I bet, turned out to be 1 count. So whether the government says, hey, Gagliano bet $300,000 to $500,000 and we're going to charge him with 72 counts, or whether the government says, hey, Gagliano bet $3 to $5 million and we're going to charge him with 1,000 counts, it's just piling on at that point.
Gotcha.
It's kind of irrelevant.
But no, not irrelevant. I'm looking from the other side, from the bookmakers, where you're laying your action out. If you're coming to me and you're betting, let's just say 1,000 a game, just for easy numbers, then all of a sudden the fix is in. You say, give me 20,000. Like, say, whoa, you're a dime better. Now you're betting 20. What's going on here?
No, I got what you're saying, and I could tell you that part of where I worked and part of the environment that I was in, part of the relationships I had back in those days, part of the accessibility that I had to bookmakers up and down the East Coast, in the Midwest. I had about a 2-week lead time before I actually found the first 2 games that we were doing.
Okay.
A home game against Oregon State and a home game against Oregon, where I knew ASU would be a 13 to 15-point favorite. So I had about a 2-week lead time, and during that 2-week lead time, right after the Super Bowl, right during the Super Bowl, the first 2 games of Super Bowl weekend, which was flipping incredible. It was Dallas against Buffalo, so there was a ton of money out there in Vegas. I had about 2 weeks to set up the accounts. I had managed successfully to set up 15 accounts, all with minimum of $10,000 lines per game, all with minimum 5-dime parlay bets. So I had that pretty well set up, and then I took a nice sized duffel bag with me out to Vegas too, and turned the first game on a Thursday night and parlayed that 100% into the second game on a Saturday. And I thought I was done. That was Super Bowl weekend. We stayed under the radar. I was very methodical with how I made the bets. Spread it out over 32 different casino and book joints in Las Vegas. Technology back in 1993, 94 certainly wasn't what it is now. And so it was I was able to stay a little more successfully under the radar.
Any of these guys that you laid bet with come after you for it?
Oddly enough, no one came after us. No one came after me. No threats, no intimidation. The indictments were done 4 years after the fact. Yeah. And none of the bookmakers ever made a peep. And none of the hotels in Vegas
tagged
either.
then. Nobody wants to make a peep then.
Again, the book is called No Gray Areas. Joe Gagliano, the author of it, and you said the reason you wrote this is to put it all out there for your kids, so they know.
That's the only reason, guys. I got, after this all happened, after I left the Board of Trade, after I moved out to Arizona back in 1996, I'm a serial entrepreneur. Let's put it that way. And I had reached a lot of success. I built a pretty large company. Reached a lot of success, tried to do a lot of good things, but I was always haunted by that felony label. Mm-hmm. I was always haunted, no matter what I did in the community. It was always in the next sentence. It was the line, the same guy that orchestrated the ASU point shaving scandal. So it was a difficult layer to shed.
Okay.
And in 2008, when the financial world fell apart, I owned some real estate, and was trying to get a piece of real estate refinanced. I brought my dad into the deal on an SBA loan, and I allowed and authorized loan docs to be signed, even though I was the trustee of the estate, to be signed without the proper power of attorney. And I got indicted for it, guys.
Gee.
I got indicted for it again. And I could sit here and bitch and moan that, hey, this guy did that, the FBI stinks and the government stinks and all this other stuff. But the truth of the matter is, it was wrong. What I did was wrong. I signed and orchestrated loan docs to be signed without the proper power of attorney.
Okay, so, but you're looking at this. At least you're accepting your responsibility for your mistakes. You just said it's wrong. You were wrong for the first thing. You're wrong for the second thing. Move forward. Is that kind of how you're writing this book too?
100%. And what I want to do is the main premise of the book, guys. Obviously, the ASU part is the sizzle.
Sure.
The main premise of the book, the main message I wanted to get out there was for people to understand, hey, don't do what I did, and to understand that all life choices have a consequence, and hopefully for people to understand that, because once you compromise yourself, once you compromise your integrity, once you get off the center, it's flipping next to impossible to get back to center again. And so that's really the message I want to put out there for young athletes that are out there, for these tennis players that are on the take, for these MMA players, these MMA guys out there that are making peanuts a year, but yet there's a betting line for them and against them.
Right.
There's so many different ways. Anytime you have money, bonuses, and gambling tied into personal performance, man, there's going to be corruption. There's no way around it. But you can't go to that gray area. You got to stay true to yourself, and that's really the message that I tried to put out there with the book, No Gray Areas.
When was the last bet you placed?
Calling us.
I could tell you yesterday's or 2 days ago Super Bowl was the first time I never had a penny on a game.
When did you get out for your last time?
I'm actually still in right now, guys. My sentence. I got out a few months ago.
Okay.
I'm on home detention here for the remainder of my sentence. I'm allowed to work during the day, and my sentence ends on April 7th.
We'll put that down. We're going to call him on April 7th. We'll have a little party.
Let me get
I like that, guys.
Yeah.
I like that. Hey, where are you guys based out of?
Ocean City, Maryland.
Good for you. Okay.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome here. I have to say. Now, where did you grow up in the in Chicago area? Where about?
I was on the northwest side of Chicago.
Okay.
Northwest side, and started trading. I went to Eastern Illinois University and started trading bonds at the Board of Trade.
Gotcha. Yeah. Yeah. Well, you're 100% right on everything you said about that place, and listen. What are you going to do after this? After April 7th, what are you doing? What's the path?
You know what? My path is to try to use this the journey that I've been on as a platform.
Yeah.
There's some things that we're working on with the NCAA right now. There's some things that we're working on to try to.
Got any information for us we could use?
We're not going down that route.
Oh, okay. Actually, I want to put you in touch with a guy, Joe. I've got your number. I'm going to put you in touch with another guy by the name of Larry Lawton. I don't know if you've ever heard of this guy. Look him up. He's a real deal. He did, I don't know how many years this guy did. He was a burglar, and then he turned everything around. He started this thing called the Reality Check Program. A guy who's been in, turned his life around. He didn't snitch on anybody, and he did real hard time and everything. But he's a great guy now. He even became an honorary police officer.
Yes, he did.
I mean, it's an amazing story. You should read it. I'll get you some info. But he's a guy I'm sure you could talk to, and maybe he could help you out with your thing, whatever you do.
Well, I'd really like that, guys. And I'd like the connection. I'm trying with all my heart to turn the negatives into positives. And
good.
hopefully you or your viewers, not viewers, your listeners can go out there and check out the website, nograyareas.com. Gray is with an E, Grey. We put a bunch of videos on there. There's a bunch of press on there. You could see all the trailers that were done with HBO Real Sports and ABC News and all that other nonsense that was out there too during those days. So it'll give you a little bit of background and hopefully we could turn some negatives into a positive, like I said.
Right on, man. And listen, Joe, you sound like you're on the right path. I'm going to get in touch with you and get you set up with Larry. You guys probably get along real well.
Hey, guys, I appreciate the time. Thank you so much.
No, thank you for your time.
Man.
Well, I don't have to thank him for his time. He has nothing else to do.
He's just sitting around the house.
Yeah, he's hanging around the house with a bracelet on his
We'll
foot. Come
talk
on,
to you
seriously?
April 8th.
Yeah.
Hey,
You're going to lock. The Knicks are playing the 76ers.
No, hey, there's no bracelet, number one, and I'm off to work here in about a half hour, so it's all good.
All right, man.
All right, guys. Thank you.
Thanks, Joe.